I'm so excited to see. In our last unit together, we learned all about pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, and formal and informal language. Today we're going to start a brand new unit on punctuation, and today our focus is on the comma. Our objective for today is that we're going to learn that a comma is a punctuation mark, and we're going to learn how to use it to separate words in a sentence. So what's a comma? A comma is a punctuation mark, like a period. Commas are used between words in a sentence instead of at the end of a sentence. A comma tells us to pause or take a break, whereas a period would tell us to stop. Let's take a moment to see how commas can help us in our writing. Read the paragraph along with me as I read out loud. Everybody laughs. Babies, children, and adults all laugh. People love to laugh. It makes them feel good inside. People laugh at jokes, cartoons, and funny stories. I want you to notice the words babies, children, and adults, and think for a second about what they have in common. They're all naming words and they name people. So when we list different types of people or things in a sentence, we use commas to separate the words in our list. Take a look at the last sentence of that paragraph. Do you notice the words jokes, cartoons, and funny stories? Think for a second about what they have in common. Those are all things that make us laugh. And again, we're going to separate those items by commas. Take a look back to the second sentence. How many people were in that list? Count them. There were 3 people in that list. And on the last sentence, how many items were in that list? If you counted, there are also 3. So when we have a list of 3 or more people or things, it's called a series. And commas help to separate the items to make it clear to the reader that each one is its own item. I want you to also notice that in both of those sentences, after that last comma, there's the word and. The word and tells readers that the next word or phrase will be the last in that series. Let's go ahead and read the second sentence. The second paragraph. Read along with me as I read out loud. People laugh in different ways. They giggle, snort, or howl. Some people hold their tummies, their noses, or their mouths. Watching people laugh is really funny. In the second sentence, what words should be separated by a comma? Take a moment and see if you can find the words that should be separated from that list. You're probably thinking that giggle, snort, or howl should be separated in that list. So we're going to add a comma to separate those items. Now, in that sentence, I don't see the word and. So what word signals the last item in that series? See if you can find it. You probably noticed that this word or separates the last item in that series. Or expresses a choice among the items in the series, rather than suggesting that all of the items are included like and. Items can be made up of more than one word. In our next sentence, I want you to take a moment and look and see what other words might need to be separated because they're part of a list. You're probably thinking their tummies, their noses, or their mouths are items in a list that should be separated. And I noticed that sometimes an item is more than just one word. So it's not just tummies, but their tummies. So we're going to have to separate those items by a comma. And I want you to notice again what word signals the last item in the series. See if you can find it. You probably also noticed that in this sentence it was the word or. Let's read some more examples of items in a series and see how commas can help. Let's read the first sentence together. Mom and I can walk, drive, or take the bus downtown. Think for a moment about which words tell how the writer and her mom can get downtown. See if you can find them. You probably noticed that there are a couple of ways the writer and her mom can get downtown. You probably said to walk, drive, and they can take the bus. So where should we add the commas to separate the items in that series? In order to separate those items in that series, we would put a comma after walk and a comma after drive. Think for a moment about what word signals the last item on that list. You probably said the word or signals the last item on that list. Because we know or means that they wouldn't do all of those things, but it would show that there's a choice. Let's read the second sentence together. We will buy a ball, an umbrella, and a beach blanket. What are the options of things they can buy? You probably said that they could buy a ball, an umbrella, and a beach blanket. Think for a moment about where we might add the commas in this sentence to separate the items in the series. Did you say we probably should put a comma after a ball? I agree. Where should that next comma go? I bet you said that it should go after the word an umbrella. Nice job. And think for a moment about what word signals the end or the last item on this list. I hope you said and, because you'd be right. Nice job, friends. Let's read the last sentence together. Then we will be ready to swim, play ball, or sit in the shade. What are their options of what they can do? You probably said their choices were to swim, to play ball, or sit in the shade. Those are the three items or choices they could do in that list or series. So again, let's think about where we should put those commas to separate each item. I hope you were thinking that you would add a comma after the word swim. Where does the next comma go? Think for a second. Did you say you thought the next comma should go after the word ball? I agree. And lastly, think about what word signals the last item on our list. I hope you said or, because you'd be right. Or means they're not going to do all three of those things, but it signals that there's a choice. Remember that when we have three or more items in a list, we want to separate each of those items by commas. Okay, friends, now it's your turn. I want you to think of somewhere you'd like to go, and I want you to make a list for that shopping trip. So maybe you'd like to go to a mall or a grocery store. You're going to create a list of the things that you want, or maybe just the things that you need. After you've created that list, I want you to write a note to your parents telling them the things that you need. So on my list, you'll notice that I have my shopping list for my next grocery trip, and it's written right there on the screen. On my shopping list, I have that I need chicken, rice, beans, and milk. And then below, I wrote a little note to myself, including all of those items. And as you read my sentence, you'll notice that I use commas to separate each item in my series. Read the sentence along with me. When you go to the store, please buy chicken, comma, rice, comma, beans, comma, and milk. And you'll notice I use the word and because I need all of those things. I'm not going to use the word or because I don't want to have just a couple of those things come back from the store with me. I need all of them. So go ahead and have some fun. Make a list for your next shopping trip and then write a note to yourself about the things you need, reminding yourself to use commas to separate each item. Have fun, friends.